Do you like turkey sandwiches? Then you'll love the new premium carb turkey and bacon sub at Subway restaurants. It's oven roasted just right, sliced thick just the way you like it. And just when you think it can't get any better, look out. It's got crispy bacon in there too. Order one today on your choice of freshly baked bread. Then select any veggies you want to make your premium carb turkey and bacon sub uniquely yours. It's a great sub for people who really like turkey. Subway, fresh is what we do.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good evening, folks. And thank you for tuning in with me once again to another edition of True Conservative Radio. And of course, I am your host, the man they call Ghost. And once again, folks, I want to thank you very much for tuning in with me. I know that it's been, somewhat of an inspiration within inside of me to continue to have these consecutive broadcasts, but I think it's very important. And once again, I think it's very pivotal in our history, and that's why yours truly is having consecutive broadcasts like they're going out of style. Once again, this is episode number 137 for all the folks that are keeping up, believe it or not. There's a whole bunch of individuals that are actually archiving the True Conservative Radio program on their own stash. And I want to thank those folks for tuning in the podcast, or whether it's live or in the archive. I want to thank you for your patronage. But what separates this show apart from every other show, I guess, I don't know. I have shows whenever I feel like having a damn show, but I guess the news overtaker, the big 800-pound gorilla in the newsroom at this very moment is the New York Yankees winning the Baseball World Series. Oh, yeah, isn't that great, folks? I'm sure you peeps out there are just so jolly with, joy. You're doing heel clicks. You're probably doing the lambada with your significant other because the goddamn New York Yankees won the World Series. And since everyone, whether it's on any of the social networking sites, Twitter, here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, everybody seems to be fixated on this ridiculous subject matter. So let's go ahead and talk about it, and we're going to talk about it right now. Now, the reason I want to talk about the World Series, folks, is because I usually have broadcasts whenever these big sporting events that captivate the American audience so very vividly and so very passionately also. I have these broadcasts because I think it's rather obnoxious that you have people that are more energized and more, enthusiastic about going out there, guzzling down buckets of beer, watching, some overpaid ass clown, run around on a field somewhere, so that you can jump up and down on your lazy boy chair. I think it's disgusting. All right? Now, I'm not trying to be a party pooper here. I'm not trying to say that I'm one of those squares, man, that don't like sports. Don't get me wrong, I can appreciate competitive sports. But I had a Super Bowl edition of the True Conservative Radio program where we discussed this subject matter that we're going to discuss here right now. I believe that modern-day sports competition is just pure entertainment. It is no different than WWE, WWF, whatever you want to call wrestling. It's no different than muscle-bound idiots, wrestling around on, mats, in semi-homoerotic poses in front of vast amounts of thousands of people. I mean, that's basically the equivalent of modern-day competitive sports. And the reason I say that is if you look at the refereeing or the officiating of all these so-called sports that are supposed to be played fair and square, you begin to see certain discrepancies within the officiating. You see certain leniencies towards not only the officiating but the rhythm of the game and that sort of thing, folks. It's this idea that the officials, in my view, just by purely observing many of these ridiculous sideshow sports activities, that the referees have orchestrating sporting events down to a science. And we're already witnessing the unraveling of this epidemic, this conspiracy. We had an NBA referee sentenced to prison because he was rigging games for the mob, allegedly. I mean, let's just give me a break, folks. All right, I know that there's some ass clown in New York right now that's, gathering around some pizza parlor saying, "Oh, yeah, look, the New York Yankees, they won here, eh? Ah, yeah, the New York, we got Bulls over here in New York, eh? It's the New York Yankees, yeah. Hey, yeah, you know what we should do? We should go out here as soon as we finish this pepperoni pizza and this pile of cannolis over here. What we need to do is we go out there and topple over a few cars or something, eh? How about we go out there and just stop making a ruckus because the New York Yankees won the World Series? Oh! And this is what America is conducting themselves, and this is what they're finding themselves conducting mass amounts of energy and Jesus, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I'm looking at these ass clowns in New York jumping up and down, for heaven's sake, as if pepperoni pizza was falling from the sky, but because the New York Yankees won the World Series. Huh? Let me tell you something about the New York Yankees. You want to know what I think about the New York Yankees? Horse crap. That's what I think about them. You want to know why I think horse crap? Because whenever anyone discusses or tries to make any kind of a point on baseball, they try to relate it as if it's the all-American game. Baseball is as American as apple pie. And you look at all the damn names on the field out there. You got, what was it? Rodriguez and Gutierrez and, who the hell knows? You got Matsui and Chop Suey and Bing Bong Pong Pang and Cream of Some Young Whore and all these other freaked out names out here that are not even American. And then you take a look at the contracts of all these foreigners that are playing this game. You take a look at A-Rod, the infamous loser, in my opinion, who's basically sleeping on the job and getting $300 million in his contract. Huh? $300 million to play a stupid game, baseball. And you know what makes me sick is that these baseball players, because baseball, folks, frankly, it's a game that you and I can play, all right? I mean, let's just be completely honest here. Let's stop beating around the bush. I know that all these New Yorkers are jumping up and down like they have a cannoli shoved up their anal funnel. But let's just calm down about this World Series crap. It's captivating the news. It's captivating the energy of all the social networking sites out here. You got all these people up in a bunch. You got all these New Yorkers out here saying, "Hey, yeah, look, it's the New York Yankees over here. We got Bulls, eh? Let's go topple over a few cars. After we leave Vinny's Pizza Parlor, after we guzzle down a couple of pizza pies and a couple of cannolis, we'll go out there and make a ruckus over here because of the New York Yankees!" Meanwhile, the idiots on the field that are playing this ridiculous game, all right, Matsui and A-Rod and Rivera and all these foreigners, these morons are making hundreds of millions of dollars playing this ridiculous game, all right? I know I'm not trying to be a party pooper to all the people that appreciate sports, but once again, sports competition is no longer competition. It's wrestling. It's entertainment, damn it. Just look at how the officiating is orchestrated in each and every league. It doesn't matter what sporting league you look at. The more marketable team always finds a miraculous way to pull through, huh? Of course they do. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to all the young children that are in pee-wee leagues, that are in middle school and high school leagues right now, that are busting their ass, actually believing that sports is a competition, And the harder they try and the better they are, at some point, if they put all their energy and creativity into the sporting process, that they'll be victorious in the pro leagues. They'll be victorious in the college leagues. Malarkey. This is what makes me sick, folks. We are being robbed of our tax-paying dollars by these blood-sucking, power-hungry, autocrat politicians, and all of these ass clowns in America have the audacity to talk about a bunch of idiots playing on a baseball field that are making more than they'll ever make in 50 of their lifetimes. It's ridiculous. It makes me sick. So I'm not trying to be a party pooper here, folks. Believe me, I love sports competition. I mean, I'm a competitive man. I love business. I'm a capitalist, folks, and I'm not ashamed to say it. You shouldn't be ashamed to say it either. But, folks, what's really unfortunate is you got this consumption bug in America. You know, consumerism has superseded any other motivating process in humanity today in the westernized world. What does that exactly mean? That means that consumerism and materialism and gluttony supersedes a relationship between two people. It supersedes a parental relationship with their children. It supersedes everything else in their life so that they can obtain some more materials, so they can get the Dolce & Gabbana bags, so they can get the New York Yankees jacket that's going to come out. Yay, Yankees, huh? Give me a break. And let me tell you, if you're one of these idiots taking any kind of glee in this ridiculous World Series fiasco, why don't you grow up, ass clown, huh? You want to see some real sports? Why don't you get your fat ass up off your lazy boy and go to your nearest high school and go support your local athletics and see some true competition out there, where people are actually competing for a competition, not because they're getting paid $300 million. So, no, I'm not taking any kind of a gratification. I don't understand how any rational American human being at this point in time in history, at this precarious economic time, at these uncertain times, I don't understand how any idiot in America can take any kind of gratification sitting in their fat-ass lazy chair watching a bunch of millionaires play a stupid game on television. It's ridiculous, it's sick, and when history looks back upon this time, they're going to be laughing at all you stupid morons. Oh, yeah, look, the Yankees won the World Series, yeah. We got Bulls now. Unreal. Anyway, folks, 646-652-4869 is the number to call here. I know that I may be getting a little out of order, but let me tell you, do you understand the precarious situation that our country is in? The idea that our future is not only uncertain, but it's definitely gloomy, all right? Why don't you put that through your thick, stupid, consumeristic, materialistic, gluttonous skulls, that the future of the American country is going to be bad, all right? I know you all want to live in this stupid Prozac and Xanax-filled world, all right? But life ain't fair. Because you want to know why? Well, it's kind of fair in our situation because we had a government made by the people and for the people. But what happened? Oh, the people fell asleep at the wheel. That's right. Oh, they decided, you know what? I don't give a crap about the American family. I don't give a crap about my kids any longer. I don't give a crap about thinking critically or thinking creatively. I don't give a crap about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out, I'm going to make as much money as I possibly can and become some ridiculous, dumb robot out here like a mechanicalized, biologically induced RoboCop without all the armor and all the sufficient gear to maintain a longevity, if you will. And I'm going to go out there and labor myself to death and try to accumulate as much revenue as possible so that I can go out there and buy the nice fancy car. Oh, yeah, everybody will like the nice fancy car that I drive around in. Everybody will like the nice fancy house that I invite them in, huh? Why don't you start thinking appropriately, you idiots? And I know there's a lot of people, and I get a lot of emails, folks, that, folks that are like Hey, man, why are you calling me an idiot, Ghost? I'm not an idiot. I'm a smart man. I got a good education. All right, my favorite number's 0. All right, my favorite color's clear. Look. I'm just saying, folks. I know I'm getting off on a different tirade. I'm going off on a different subject matter, but the crux of the matter here is we got more people exerting energy and effort over a stupid World Series boring-ass baseball game when everyone on that field is making hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, don't you understand that A-Rod, this stupid foreigner that likes to bang old leather a bag of bones like Madonna and, these other sick, twisted-looking faced broads that he likes to, swing his ding-a-ling across, this idiot makes $300 million. I mean, he's already made 150 of it, and he re-signed for another $300 million playing a stupid baseball game. I mean, you understand that everyone that's in this room right now in the chat room, or everyone that's listening into the live broadcast or the archive, we can all get together and we can make a baseball team, all right? And I guarantee you that if we practice hard enough and if we, give ourselves some time to get ourselves into some kind of shape, we could probably give the New York Yankees some kind of a contest. And we're just a whole bunch of schmucks getting together trying to prove something to ourselves while these ass clowns are out here getting paid $300 million to play a stupid baseball game. It's disgusting. I mean, it just underscores how star-fetished we are here in America. I mean, we are so star-fetished, it's disgusting. And, if we're not star-fetished, then we're sick in the head. Oh, my God, we got so many sick-in-the-head ass clowns in America, it's disgusting. I mean, we talk about all the ditzy bimbos that, cut off their kids' arms and cut their kids' heads off and, eat their brains or all this nonsense, and they get off on insanity pleas because of this new sick liberal idea that, oh, well, if a woman, eats a little kid's brains or chops off their head or something, it's postpartum psychosis. Yeah, that's all right. Let's go ahead and give them a pass on that. That's all right. I mean, that's how sick of a society we live in, and I talked about that on a blog for all you folks that are interested, ghostpolitics.blogspot.com. I wrote extensively about this ridiculous sick epidemic. And we just sit by and we take it and we just allow it. We're just a sick society. If we're not a fat, gluttonous, lazy bastard society, we're a bunch of sick, twisted freaks. All right? I mean, we are a bunch of sick, twisted, demented, disgusting, filthy ass clowns. I mean, do you understand how sick we are in America? Let me just give you an example of how sick we are here in America. I was, I'm just cruising the news, and, I wasn't even really looking for a sick story, all right? I wasn't even looking for some kind of sick, twisted story, but they just it's just bombarding the damn newsreel here. Right off the bat, a man out of Conway, South Carolina, this is out of the Associated Press. Man gets 3 years in prison, and guess what he went to prison for? I mean, just have a guess. He went to 3 years in prison. And I mean, just take a couple of seconds and just try to think about what this moron went to prison for, and what I'm about to tell you will probably make you chunk up the last thing you ate to eat this evening. But this is how sick in America we are. A man out of Conway, South Carolina gets 3 years in prison for having sex with a horse. That's right, folks. I mean, this is how sick we are. It's just disgusting. 3 years in prison for having sex with a horse. And this is out of the Associated Press. I mean, this is something off of today's newsreel here. I mean, I don't want you idiots to think I'm just some sick bastard that's just yanking this news out of my derriere just to prove my point here. I mean, this is the latest news. I could probably go and find even more sick, twisted news like this. I mean, go in the odd news section in any news organization that you obtain your news from. It's disgusting. Associated Press. South Carolina man gets 3 years in prison for having sex with a horse. Yeah, somebody in the chat room just said, a horse is a horse, of course. Yeah, no kidding. And, and what's really unfortunate is that when you read about this kind of crap, because it's legitimate America, I mean, it's legitimate news, we have to get this kind of crap out into society just so that us rational people can understand what we're dealing with every time we step outside of our homes. Every time we step outside our doorsteps, every individual that passes by you and gives you that evil eye and gives you that, look, or even just looks at you, you got to think about what's going on in their sick head. Are they thinking something sick, sadistic, animalistic? I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, I can't even look at individuals who look at children a certain way. I don't know if you've been around individuals. Out here in Texas, we have a lot of festivals. We got a lot of festivals out here, and I like to patronize the festivals. I like to take the grandkids out. It's a whole family ordeal. But now I've been keenly observing all the individuals out there, even those that kind of camouflage themselves with the crowd demographic. And, sometimes I could just snap them like a damn Kodak picture. Old, greasy, disgusting men looking at young, innocent children. I'm talking about 5, 6 years old, and you can see it right in their eyes, They're about to salivate in their mouth how they look at these poor, innocent children. And every time I just walk outside and observe, I got to think about what's going on in people's minds. Well, what is that man thinking about looking at a child as if she's a piece of meat, as if, she's some sort of a sexual object? I mean, you can tell when somebody is actually looking at something in a real disgusting and perverted fashion. I mean, they can't help it. I mean, anyone who gets off on a certain sexual gratification, if they're in the presence of it, you're going to see it in their face. And I see it in the faces of all these people every time I'm in a public arena. I see it, and, it makes me want to go up to them and ask them a question or two, but I know that I'll probably get myself in a serious law situation or a serious situation with the law enforcement, so I don't. But the reason that I bring up all this sick, twisted nonsense is because it just underscores where our energies and our priorities are being directed in America. Instead of observing our liberties and our freedoms, all right, that allow us to do whatever we want within the rule of law. And we're completely disregarding that. We're completely taking that for granted. We're not participating in the political process. And as a result, we have allowed power-hungry autocrats to take over our government, and they are implementing their idealism, their economic idealism, and their political theory upon us because we have become complacent. Yeah. Instead, we've got people, doing 3 years in prison for having sex with horses, huh? That's great. Out of the Associated Press, folks. It's not like I'm reading some sick, twisted magazine here. This is how sick and twisted we are in America. I mean, do we have no shame, folks? I mean, obviously we don't. Anyway, let me move on to another subject before I start having a coronary here. One of the things I wanted to talk about that's right out of the hot wire here, according to the Associated Press, they broke the story here, and I want to give credit to the individuals who broke this story because it just came off the hot wire of the Associated Press. Erica Warner and Ricardo Alonso Zaldivia, something like that. Sorry for butchering up your name there, pal. But apparently, according to the Associated Press's secret anonymous sources, the AARP, the great senior citizen little organizing group that attempts to assert themselves not only within the political process, but within all kinds of private sector, public arenas, we can go on and on. Anyway, they've decided to go ahead and back up Nancy Pelosi's little House version of the health care reform bill, this $1.2 trillion House bill. For the next 10 years, it's going to cost the American taxpayer $1.2 trillion with a T, trillion to pay off. And I think that AARP is taking a gamble. I think that, you've got an organization like this, which at one point probably had good intentions. But as with every bureaucracy, folks, it's been infiltrated by a bunch of, old hippie leftists that, are a little long in the tooth. They're, prostate infected, and, they have to belong to, something like a AARP to implement whatever it is they feel is their idea way of exiting life, if so to speak. I think the AARP are actually letting the elderly down. I think it's a bad idea for the AARP to endorse a transition into what we know of as socialism. We've already heard from Barney Frank on many different occasions, and other House leaders and everyone else. We've already heard that there's going to be a tax surge, a surtax, on every individual or those that are deemed well off or wealthy. And what interpretation the liberals are given for wealthy, I have no idea. But given the fact that they want to set caps on all kinds of things, from how much one can make in a year, how much one can make in their lifetime, 60% tax on capital gains, I mean, all this garbage that they want to implement, it is going to be used to not only pay for this $1.2 trillion or whatever bill that they decide that they want to initiate as the final package of this supposed health care reform. But inevitably, folks, this is going to systematically transition us into a socialistic idea. And once again, folks, I'm a capitalist. I'm free market man. I think that that's what this country was built upon. And unfortunately, instead of embracing the individual, we're embracing the collective. And if we use historical precedents, all right, if we use historical precedents to show us where collectivism gets us in the end, it gets us absolutely nowhere. Collectivism is a failed mode of production. It's a failed process. Even the Chinese, you dumb leftist communist bastards, even the Chinese are bowing down to the capitalist game. I mean, don't you understand, folks? And, I'm not trying to be a business advisor here, but this is just a little inside tip for all you folks that are realizing that, if you keep making American money and putting it in the bank and saving it, it ain't going to get you diddly squat. We had as a matter of fact, Tony in Ohio, who happens to be in the chat room this evening, thank you for listening. We had a discussion a couple of evenings ago, and he brought up the mathematical formula of how one that's within their 30s or late 20s, if they save $20,000 a year, if they save $20,000 a year for 40 years, whatever that, I think it's $800,000, that is not going to be enough money, given the fact that we're going to have hyperinflation. We're going to have, all kinds of disgusting, despicable economic effects by having the liberals pump all this money into the economy. That $800,000 is probably going to be the equivalent of $80,000, maybe less. So a little good tip here. I know that China's a bunch of communist bastards, and I really don't appreciate how China is. I just don't like Mao Zedong. I don't like the bastard. But if you look at the economic moves that China is doing, we should be very, we should be very taken back by them. First of all, this is the manufacturing base of the world. They've manufactured, it's a manufacturing revolution out there in China. I mean, there's just so many manufacturing plants that are producing products for not only America but for the entire world that they've built up lots of revenue, the communist government. Not only have they built up lots of revenue, they've got a surplus in their international reserves. That means that they are not a debt country. They are a creditor country. That means they're the ones lending money out to other countries in hopes of, obtaining, it back in interest to some extent. And what is happening here is because of the whole economic crisis, because China understands that, the manufacturing output is going to come down to some degree. They are taking money out of their reserves, and they're actually putting it into their infrastructure. I'm telling you, they're building their railroad system. Because of all the manufacturing explosion and the manufacturing revolution, they've indirectly polluted their natural resources. China, because of all the industrial plants and all the pollution in the air and in the water, you actually have industrial runoff going into the drinking water. You've got so many pollutants in the air in China that you saw the Olympics, this past Summer Olympics, folks. They couldn't get the damn smog out of the air. They tried everything. They couldn't do it. And these poor schmuck athletes had to run in this garbage. But the point is that they're actually going to invest in money to attempt to rectify those problems. They understand that, the motor production of China is not going to continue on based on manufacturing. So my point is, folks, you look to the Asian markets if you want to, put your money into something that's going to not just save your money as if you bought a piece of gold or gold bars, but take a look at the commodities market in Asia and the currency markets in Asia. I know that the American dollar took a spike up today, but that's purely on fabricated stimulus package nonsense. Anyway, that's just a little tidbit there, but 646-652-4869, getting back to the House and, AARP and them embracing the health care bill, I think it's a dangerous move for the AARP. I hope the AARP loses membership. If you happen to be one of these Ovaltine drinking, blue hair, golden girls watching, windbags out here that actually pay dues to the AARP to become a member, only for them to slap you in the mouth with telling you that you're going to have to accept this ridiculous state-funded health care, I strongly advise you to just cancel your membership. Tell AARP to piss off, because AARP deserves to piss off. Because to sit here and embrace this House health care bill, not only does it transition America into a brand new socialist system, but it also contradicts what these seniors are crying so foul about. They're crying foul that they're going to lose their Medicaid and their Medicare. And you see, folks, in the House bill, that's exactly what's going to be cut to make room for the $1.2 trillion that it's going to take for this so-called reform. So, with all due respect to the old folks out here, you're shooting yourselves in the foot if you're going to be backing up the AARP with this House health care bill, because inevitably what you're going to be doing is taking away the Medicaid and Medicare little prescription drug benefits and all that garbage that's related to the Medicare program. You're going to be losing it. You're going to be losing it in exchange for the public option. Oh, no, wait a minute. Well, what does Pelosi call it? That plastic face Pelosi? She's calling it consumer option. All right? All right, yeah, it's the consumer option now. Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, thanks a lot, Pelosi. While you're chewing on your face for another damn press conference, you disgusting, despicable bag of leather bones trash, you are sitting here and slapping the people in the face. You're slapping the American people in the face and saying,
you are going to have socialism and you're just going to like it. That's all you're going to do. You're just going to have it.
we don't want it. All right? And luckily, Harry Reid, he's starting to realize that the Democrats are not going to be able to pull off this health care crap by the end of this year. All right? So they're not going to be able to do it. He said it yesterday. But, of course, folks, they're proposing, the House proposed bill that, plastic-faced Pelosi put on the House floor. It's actually coming to a vote here. It's coming to a vote here soon, folks. So keep your eye on C-SPAN and keep your eye on the real news organizations that tell you the outcomes of certain bills and certain acts on the Senate and House floors. Because once this ridiculous crap comes into law, it's not only going to entail the supposed health care reform bill, it's going to be just like stimulus package 2, folks. You yes we can Kool-Aid drinking, praising Obama like he was Mao Zedong having mindless minion idiots. And don't you understand that? I mean, I just don't understand where people think that this is just going to be a walk in the park. I don't know. I mean, once again, this is the same country that bought the pet rock, for heaven's sake. I got to keep putting that in my head. This is the same country that goes out and buys bottled water and makes the bottled water industry, what is it, a $20 billion a year industry? Give me a break. Get yourself a filter and get over it. I mean, it's disgusting, folks. I don't understand what has happened to this country. Well, I take that back. I understand it. I just didn't realize that it was going to be this rapid. I didn't realize that it was going to just take over the land of America and just turn it into an ignorant subterranean cesspool. I hate to keep reiterating this damn Karl Marx communist idiot, but, once again, this is what gives substance to the communists. This is what gives substance to the leftist. Because Marx predicted that once the mode of production is no longer on the worker side and it becomes factory manufacturing machine-based modes of production, that the workers at these factories were going to no longer be creative, that they were no longer going to be thinking critically, that they themselves were going to be machines to the machines. And, their movements were going to be repetitive, and their work was going to be monotonous, and the whole population would be so ridiculously mechanicalized and dumbed down, lacking culture, that they would rise up, according to dumbass, ridiculous Marx, they would rise up in communist revolution. Well, that didn't happen, folks. Instead, communism resonated amongst peasant-based societies, which is completely what Karl Marx did not. It was the complete opposite of what Karl Marx predicted. Karl Marx predicted that a ripe nation for communist revolution would be something like the United States, where the Industrial Revolution was at its peak. Technological innovation was at its peak. This is when Karl Marx thought there would be ripe for communist revolution and the workers of the world would stand up and rise up and take the means of production from the private bourgeoisie, but that didn't happen. It happened in it happened in China. And what happened? What happened in China? China was a decimated country. Confucianism was just, it was wiped on the ass crack of Europeans and Russians and everyone else that was chomping at the bits of the natural resources of China. China was a depleted country after the Opium Wars. It was still trying to find its identity. It was trying to find its identity after 1848. And ever since then, everyone, has used it as a, natural resource, giveaway, if you will. They just go in and take the crap and left. This was ferment enough, I wouldn't say for a communist revolution, but for a revolution. And I don't want to get into Chinese history here, but we did have the nationalist Chiang Kai-shek, which was the nationalist in China who attempted to facilitate not only capitalism and free markets, but industrial growth. And because the peasants in China didn't want to work in factories, because the peasants, didn't even want to work, they'd rather be on, some lays around hand, throwing a hoe on the ground. I'm not talking about a woman. I'm talking about the real, actual gardening tool. Throwing a hoe on the ground, putting in some seeds and some strip of land for some estate owner, some lord of the manor, was a lot easier and a lot simpler of a life than, working in a factory. So this is what caused the revolution in China. The peasants didn't want to go out and work. They didn't want to go out and work. So, unfortunately, you had the communists and you had, the idiot peasants in China. They rose up and they nullified Marx's idea. So all you leftists, that are so shoved up Karl Marx's poop chute, why don't you fess up to the fact that Marx was wrong, all right? He was wrong. It didn't happen. His little pissing ground of the Communist Manifesto was only implemented amongst peasantry-based societies, and he was wrong. But no, you know what the leftists are doing? They're rewriting Marx. And they did, folks, and I hate to keep reiterating this, but I strongly advise you to go to your nearest search engine and look up Frankfurt University in Germany. Frankfurt University. At the turn of the 20th century, in the 1900s, that university was founded by a conference of Marxists. And those professors that founded Frankfurt University were Marxists from all over the world. And they rewrote the idea of how the leftist proletariat, the leftist communist was going to infiltrate society. And what did they write about? Well, what did they write about in those books? Well, they talked about utilizing gender-based politics like feminism. They didn't use the word feminism, but they talked about utilizing the subjugation factor of feminism, racism. Huh? Yeah, they talked about, emphasizing that the most disgusting and vile works of art were somehow supposed to be praised and, supposed to be put on a pedestal and they should be protected. Why do you think the leftists are so into, art of, the Virgin Mary having turd smeared in her face on some painting or something? They're calling that a masterpiece. Why do you think these sick, twisted, artists or so-called artists, they piss on their canvases and, they paint with their blood or some crap and, they paint some sadistic, twisted painting of, God knows what, and yet the leftists are going to sit here and try to shove it in your faces as if it's, it's protected art. It's a creative idea. And yet those same leftists will sit here and try to take me off the air every single day. All right, and all these leftists will call up to they'll write the Blog Talk Radio Network, they'll write the sponsors, they'll try to take me off the air. They'll try to silence me, but when someone, holds some sort of a disgust when it comes to their interpretation of art or their interpretation of views, of politics, of how they feel, for heaven's sake. Lo and behold, they want to shut you up. They want to eliminate you, the old liberal. So give me a break. 646-652-4869. I know I got off on a little bit of a tirade. I want to get a little bit into the international politics because that affects us as well, folks. I know that I didn't put it in the description, but I want to talk a little bit about Afghanistan because we have been keeping up with the situation out there if you've been an avid listener of the broadcast. And there was supposed to be a runoff election between Karzai and Abdullah because apparently, according to some UN overseer, the election was ridden with fraud and, all kinds of precarious crap. Well, miraculously, Abdullah decided, well, I thought it was not time to have a runoff election, so I don't want a runoff election anymore.
Forget the Karzai. You are president now. Good luck to you. I'm out of here. I see you later. I'm getting on my goat and I'm going home.
I mean, this Abdullah was the one that was highly insistent upon, having this runoff election because he felt that he was gypped out. He felt that there was fraud within the election and that he thought that he had a legitimate chance to win it out there in Afghanistan. Now, all of a sudden, he's had second thoughts about it and has conceded the presidency to Hamid Karzai. And I just think that's rather funny. And it kind of makes me wonder if Abdullah was somehow threatened to do something of that nature, And for all you folks that don't know, Afghanistan, I'm talking about the situation in Afghanistan, the so-called democratic government that the United States has implemented. Hamid Karzai is the current president, and this individual had an election recently against a opponent who used to be the spokesman of the Northern Alliance during the invasion of Afghanistan in the early years in 01, 02. He was the spokesman of the Northern Alliance, and his name was Abdullah, and Abdullah decided to go and run against Karzai in this democratic election, and according to UN overseers and according to Abdullah himself, he cheated on the race, according to Abdullah. He cheated on the race, and they wanted a runoff election. And according to all plans, there was supposed to be a runoff election. And as the runoff election grew near, we started seeing attacks. All right? We started seeing attacks by the Taliban. We started seeing attacks by these damn Islamic freak shows that are going out here strapping bombs to their chest in hopes of, snagging about 72 virgins in the afterlife. As a matter of fact, it got so bad out there in Afghanistan that the Taliban infiltrated the perimeter of Kabul. I mean, they infiltrated the perimeter of Kabul, for heaven's sake. I mean, that's supposed to be the most heavily fortified city in Afghanistan, and the Taliban was still able to get through there and release a humongous bomb that not only killed innocent Afghani bystanders, but it killed a few people from the United Nations, for heaven's sake. And, the old United Nations, they're not used to that. They like to think of themselves as some sort of international institution that's supposed to be orchestrating some sort of peace out here. But if you want my personal opinion, I think that we need to wipe our asses with the United Nations. All right, I'm not against a consortium like the United Nations, but it has become an institution. It has become a bureaucratic institution to where individuals that have more economic and population influence seem to have more of effect on the UN than it actually deserves. I mean, this is not some sort of international constitutional republic that we're dealing with in the United Nations. I don't know what we're dealing with in the United Nations. This is the same international institution that gave China a human rights award. Yeah, this is the same United Nations that gave China a human rights award, given the fact that they have the infamous one-child policy, and if that one child happens to be a girl, well, they get aborted. They don't even get aborted. They're born, and they see if they're a girl, and if they're a girl, they just throw them in the trash. They just bash their brains open and just throw them in a trash can. That's China. They are socially engineering their society so that there are 5 men to every 1 woman in China. I mean, why would they do that? Why would anyone do something? Why would a country do that? I mean, do you think that they want a lot of pissed off Chinese people so that they could be prepared for war? I mean, that's just me. I'm just asking. Who the hell knows? But this is the same country that got the Human Rights Award from the United Nations. And we're supposed to, as far as the United States is concerned, we're supposed to look to this international consortium with some kind of legitimacy when it can't properly coordinate the peaceful international kumbaya session that it was intended to inspire and intended to induce. It didn't happen, all right? I mean, the United Nations is a joke. It's an utter joke, and I think that we should scrap it. I think we should cut funding to it. It's garbage. It's done absolutely nothing for no one. And if we're going to integrate, I don't think that we need political institutionalism to integrate. If we should integrate, we should be integrating, utilizing a concert, a trio consortium, if you will, of international economics. I'm all for international economics. I think that it's a great thing. It's a great thing for the American investor and the American person who actually saves their paycheck and wants to put it into something that's going to make them a little bit of money in the near future instead of blowing it on some stupid, ridiculous bar tab or, buying the latest BMW. But I think that, we should be bringing the world together in an international consortium via economics, not by international political institutionalism. I mean, I'm sick and tired of hearing about the UN. The UN General Secretary went to Afghanistan the other day to try to pipe people down and probably, try to slap Abdullah in his face and tell him, hey, look, you need to step down, you moron, and put a gun to his head, whatever happened. And this is their way of dictating peace out here. The United Nations is a failed policy. It's a failed international institution. Let me explain to you what exactly the United Nations is, and then I'm going to move on to another subject matter here. The United Nations is an international institution, right? And the whole reason that it was put there is because of liberals. And I'm not talking about your traditional American domestic liberal. I'm talking about liberal theory, which has its roots back to Immanuel Kant. And for all you folks that don't know who Immanuel Kant is, if you want to know what the United Nations is, well, go read Immanuel Kant. It's right there in his political works. And he was a liberal. I mean, him and, John Locke and Rousseau, these individuals inspired one another during the time of their existence on this earth. And liberals, they come in three different variants. All right. Well, there's other offshoots, but they're basically down to three different variants. You've got, and I think I've already said this many times before, but individuals need to realize how to distinguish international liberal policy and realist policy. I mean, you really need to pay attention to the international relations as it relates to America, because if whatever wars we get in, whatever international conflicts we get in, you should be very aware of them, because it may be you that goes out there and fights this goddamn war. It might be your children. So anyway, there's three types of international liberals that believe that through, institutionalism will bring about world peace. They actually believe that international institutionalism will bring world peace, all right? The first, of course, are the liberal institutionalists. The liberal institutionalists believe that the United Nations and other bureaucratic political organizations like NATO, the G8, these political, organizations that are international in its origin, they believe that these types of institutions, these political institutions, will bring about world peace. And then you've got the pacifist liberal. The pacifist liberal believes that we can spread peace with NGOs. And for all those who don't know what NGOs are, those are non-government organizations. Those are organizations like the Red Cross that always seem to be on both sides of the wars. Unless you're with the Taliban. They started killing Red Cross people out there in Afghanistan once we started invading. So, I guess unless you're the damn Taliban or Al-Qaeda, usually the NGO, the pacifist, liberal, non-profit, non-government organization actually goes and attempts to provide human resource or human aid, so to speak. And pacifist liberals actually believe that this type of institutionalism, which is NGO, non-government-oriented institutions, can bring about world peace. And the third and final institution, folks, the third and final liberal institution is the neocons. The power liberals is what I like to call them. The power liberals, those that believe that they can, spread liberal democracy by force. Because with all three variants, whether it's pacifist liberals, institutional liberals, or power liberals, the end objective is to spread liberal democracy throughout the international community for the sake of peace. That's the end goal of all three of those variants. And I am just here to say, I didn't mean to get off on this whole lecture about international institutionalism, but I'm just here to say that we don't need the United Nations anymore. We don't need your ass. All right? You're a failed political international institution. You're ridiculous. You're overfunded. Just to show you how power hungry the United Nations is actually trying to be. They're actually going to implement, some sort of international decree or some sort of international document that needs to be acknowledged by all the United Nations members that's going to make it illegal. Believe it or not, folks, you can look this up. The United Nations wants to make it illegal for everyone in the world to talk against religion. And this is all over the news, folks. Look it up on your nearest search engine. They want to make it illegal in the world. This is the United Nations, this supposed peaceful political international institution. They want to make it illegal to talk about any religious institution, any religion whatsoever. This is the international institution here that's supposed to bring about world peace. So, folks, I don't mean to get off on this tirade about the United Nations, but they are influencing our foreign policy, and I strongly advise all of you to make sure that you're keenly aware of the United Nations' influence upon America, upon our military theaters, because the United Nations actually has more of an influence than you think. All right? It has way more of an influence than you can possibly imagine. And I think it's disgusting. Once again, I'm not against a global consortium to bring the world together. We need the world to bring each other together, for heaven's sake. We're having wars over ridiculous crap. Do you understand that we're having wars over ridiculous nonsense? Not to get off the subject, but, this Islam fanaticism. This Islam fanaticism here. I know that the United Nations would throw me in jail for this discourse about Islam that I'm about to do. But let's talk about Islamic fanaticism for just a second. We're living in a day and age where you've got imbeciles that are actually willing, because they're theocratically induced. Ever since they're born, they're forced to read this damn Quran front and back, and whoever is inducing them to read this at a young age is molding their idealism and their interpretation of that doctrine. And unfortunately, we have, because I'm not saying that all Muslims and all people in the Islamic world are a bunch of fanatics. I'm not saying that, folks. Historically, Islam, people that are in Islamic faith, people that are Arab, these individuals are actually merchants. They actually believe in, bartering, and, they were the first ones in the Middle East actually bartering goods from China and India to those in Europe. But, folks, we got to realize what is causing this ridiculous idea that, it is somehow going to be spiritually significant, to strap a bomb to your chest and to blow up as many supposed infidels as possible. And, I hate to go on history lessons here, but let's take a step back and see where these idiots are coming from. They're all coming from these monarch Arab nations, these monarch Islamic nations. Now, folks, I know I've said this I think I said it on a program 2 years ago, but I want to reiterate this, that there is no historical significance of monarchism in the Arab or Islam history. I mean, there is no precedent, there is no old Islamic kingdoms and monarchs and all this crap. I mean, these aren't institutions that have been around for large amounts of years. You know, the modern-day Arab nations, they're not even but 100 years old, 110 years old. So how did these monarchs, how did these kings and these sheiks and all these assholes that, make all the money and put their population in squalor, how the hell did they get into the mindset of making themselves a king? Well, folks, have you ever seen Lawrence of Arabia? Have you ever read about who that asshole really was and what he accomplished and what he did? For all you folks that don't know, old Lawrence of Arabia was an English agent, an English secret agent that would go into all the desert regions of what was then known as the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was fighting on the side of the Austro-Hungarian monarch during World War I. And Lawrence was sent by the British to infiltrate the Ottoman Empire, which was a vast amount of geography. I mean, it was just huge. I mean, the Ottoman Empire had stood the test of time. Before that, they had been around for almost 500 years, the Ottoman Empire. Almost 500 years. And then old Lawrence moves in, and, because he's wearing the garb, and because he knows how to speak fluent Arabic and all the tribal languages of the region, he's able to go in and actually strike deals with the warlords and the tribes of the region. And they actually take the side of the English because of Lawrence's infiltration within the Ottoman Empire. And as a result, the Ottoman Empire fell not because they lost a war. It was because Lawrence of Arabia, because of his wheeling and dealing with all the tribes and all the warlords and all these individuals that were within all these regions of the Ottoman Empire, he basically negotiated with them, and they waged a guerrilla warfare from within. So the Ottoman Empire imploded. It got taken over because all the tribes that Lawrence negotiated with actually rose up and took down the Ottoman Empire, while the Ottoman Empire was conducting theaters of combat in a variety of different fronts in World War I. Now what happened to the Ottoman Empire? Well, you know who all won World War I, folks? Old English and French over here decided that they were going to chop up the Ottoman Empire like it was a cake. And they decided to go have a little bit of a meeting in Versailles. And for all you folks that don't know the great estate of Versailles, Versailles is this great estate that King Louis erected, one of the last King Louis, Louis the 16th. He erected this great palace that was just immaculate in its architecture and, chandeliers. I mean, it was just elegant upon elegant. And the reason that he created the Versailles estate was to get all the parliament heads of the French little parliament system. It wasn't much of a parliament system, but he had all of them go to Versailles so they can be wined and dined and have maidens and have all this crap. I mean, it was a literal, sinful, indulgent, gluttonous cesspool. Marie Antoinette was famous of philandering around and slutting around all over Versailles. But anyway, the winners of World War I decided to get together at Versailles and decided that they were going to cut up the they were trying to cut up the empire out here. They were going to cut up the Ottoman Empire. Now, how are they going to cut it up? How were they going to cut it up? Well, Lawrence, remember, he had struck deals with the warlords. So the reason that they rose up against the Ottoman Empire was because they were promised land, all right? They were promised land, and that's why you have all these little regions out here with all these ridiculous royal families. All right, I mean, you got the Saudi royal family. We all remember the Shah in Iran. We've got all these. We had a Syrian royal family before they were overthrown. I mean, Egypt. I mean, I can go on and on. And what happened was these royal families that were instilled via the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles cut up all these pieces of the Ottoman Empire and gave these tribal leaders, the people that led the resistance against the Ottoman Empire, they were promised land and they got it. And as a result, you have a vast amount of little pissing ground countries that were basically cut up by Europe elitists. I mean, European victors in World War I. I mean, it's just utterly disgusting. And then we have to think about, okay, they implemented a bunch of monarchs because that Lawrence promised them land, and they got promised a bunch of land. Then what? Well, I'll tell you then what. Then the English decided to put all kinds of infrastructure and a bunch of resources into the Ottoman Empire lands because there was a lot of oil in them. There was a lot of oil in them. Oh yeah, and then by the 20s and 30s, this Israel situation, or it wasn't around at the time, but the state of Israel became a very precarious situation in the Middle East, and then you had the oppression of those royal families that were instilled, the Saudi royal family, the royal families of all the Arab and Muslim empires in the 20th century. They were oppressing their people, and all this oppression, all this war and tragedy and death and destruction, all this garbage, it has culminated in an idea that the only way that life has any kind of significance to a lot of these idiots that are susceptible to Islamic fanaticism is to embrace the fanatic doctrine. I mean, do you understand that these people are being oppressed by their own kind via a monarch system that has no significance in their culture whatsoever? And they're being propped up by, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, all right? I mean, hey, what the hell? I mean, this is not America's fault. We didn't prop up a bunch of royal families. We're just doing business with these pricks. All right? I mean, that's just how it goes. I mean, if they're in power, they're in power. You do some business with them in hopes of making some international money. I mean, we've been doing this for 3,000 years. But as a result of all this oppression, we've got a lot of idiots focusing their attention, all right, on America and the American influence on their countries, and they're blaming America for implementing these royal families and backing up these royal families that are basically doing nothing more than oppressing the people. And this is where this Islamic fanaticism comes from, folks. I mean, a good example, and it's actually a good transition, and then I'm going to take a couple of calls here because I see a bunch of callers. Iran, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and transition to Iran out here. Iran had a royal family. We all remember the Shah of Iran. We all remember how crooked he was and how everybody in the country thought he was a bastard, he was a prick, and he was oppressive, and he was all this nonsense. Well, it gave ferment to this religious fanaticism that was the Islamic Revolution. The Ayatollahs. All right, and let me tell you, this is a Shiite Islamic idealism. There's a complete difference, believe it or not, between Shiite and Sunni tribal Islamism, if that makes any sense. All right? Anyway, I'm just saying that what happened to the Shah is a direct consequence of all the oppression, all the wars, all the tragedies, everything. All right? And as a result, you had Ayatollahs fermenting fervor within the populace saying that it was the Yankee oppression.
It was America. America is oppressing us. They look at what the Shah is doing. They're allowing America to come in, and they're taking us over. And we need a jihad. We need a jihad.
And as a result, there was so much ferment in that damn country that, lo and behold, they took over the damn country, the whole damn Islamic Revolution. They took it over, for heaven's sake. You know? They took over a whole damn country, and you see that process right there gave fervor to all the other Islamic nations in the world. I mean, why do you think, you had all this ridiculous nonsense happen within the Arabic community and the Islamic world? You know, the assassinations, the killings, the terrorist acts. It's all in response to the oppression from the royal families that are within the systems of power in these particular regions that were put there by the English during the Treaty of Versailles. I don't know. Anyway, folks, before I take a call, I just wanted to say that I am keeping up with with my contacts with the resistance in Iran. Believe it or not, the True Conservative radio program gets broadcasted in Iran. And the reason it's getting broadcasted in Iran is because I talk about Iranian politics. I talk about Iranian foreign affairs, and they're very interested in what I'm saying. They understand that I'm not just some stupid, bloodthirsty, war hawk moron that wants to go in there and bomb their country. They understand that I feel that there's a transitioning happening within Iran. We just cannot allow ourselves to go in and give fervor to the Islamic Revolution by going in and bombing the joint or going in and invading the joint. You know, we cannot allow America to do anything to Iran because there is a legitimate resistance within Iran, folks. I mean, don't you understand that there is I believe 4 to 5 young people under the age of 24 than there are over that age. I mean, so it's a very young society. The young people are the majority of the populace, and they're still being oppressed by a minority faction, by an old vanguard. And I think that, what we need to do as American Black Ops, American CIA, what we need to do is we need to be funding these clandestine operations. We need to be going out there and seeing if we can help propagandize the resistance amongst Iran. Because I'm telling you, I think the people of Iran are ready to rise up. I talked to the resistance personally. They actually want to embrace American idealism. They want to embrace free markets. You know, they're tired of, having to be restricted based on some ridiculous theocratic moral code out here. You know, they want to go out and make money. They want to go out and have businesses. They want opportunities. They want to participate in the economic global society. But they are being restricted by this Islamic revolution, this ridiculous theocratic nonsense, and they're tired of it. It's not that they're against Islam, all right? It's not that the Iranian resistance that I have contacts with, they don't, they're not against Islam, all right? They're just against this fanatical version that is taking control of their government, and they don't want to have nothing to do with it. And I strongly advise you folks that are listening in, don't allow your politicians to vote on any kind of military action against Iran. Iran is at, the Ayatollah's days are numbered. And if you happen to be listening to me there, Ayatollah, all right, let me give you a few words out here. All right, I know that you probably don't speak English, and you're probably going to have this translated to you, and they're probably not going to be able to translate it to you correctly. But let me set it to you straight there, Ayatollah. All right, you're a theocratic, prostate-infected moron, and if truth be told, you're probably in some room somewhere consuming on westernized goods, probably watching American Idol while you're waxing your carrot to naked pictures of Ricky Martin's butt crack, because I know, as well as everyone in your country knows, you're a damn hypocrite. You're a hypocrite, Ayatollah. And I'm telling you right now, it'll be a great day. It'll be a great day not only for America, but it'll be a great day for the whole Arabic and Islamic world when the people of Iran rise up and take out the Ayatollah themselves. And I'm telling you, the ferment is there. I'm talking to these people. They're going out. They're protesting. They're passing out pamphlets. They're pumping out propaganda. And let me tell you, the people are coming out. They're not afraid. They're not afraid of all the, harsh side effects of rising up against such an oppressive theocratic organization, a theocratic system. They're not afraid, folks. They're not like America out here. Americans are afraid that they're going to get the freaking flu. They're afraid they're going to get the flu, for heaven's sake. And you've got people in Iran who don't even have guns, folks. Remember, the Iranian, Islamic Revolution, they took up all the guns. So these poor people are going out, stark naked with no weapons, maybe some rocks and some pitchforks, going out there saying that they don't want the Ayatollah, death to the Ayatollah, and I'm sitting there, standing there with them. I'm standing there with them. So I hope the United States government takes its head out of its ass and stop being damn war hawks and sending our boys to die out there. We need to fund a clandestine operation to make sure that these young people and the Iranian resistance takes out this Ayatollah so that these individuals and these young people that are in Iran, that are the majority of Iran, can have the opportunity that they want. Don't you understand? We can't allow rebellions like this to go unnoticed, especially to foes of America. We can't allow this to happen. Anyway, folks, I got some time here. 646-652-4869. We're going to take a caller here from the 74 area code. You're on the air.
What's up, Ghost? It's Tony in Ohio, man.
How's it going, Tony?
Pretty good, man. Listening in, agreeing with you. You said a couple of things earlier, and I just had a couple of funny little anecdotes, and then I had a serious point. You were talking about the Ottoman Empire and how they were traders, and they actually were merchants, and they traded with a lot of people, bartered with people, and that they're naturally like kind of a free market people by nature. Although people don't think that now because they've got all these weird systems in place that are not all that old. The proof of that is the 72 virgin thing. I mean, how do you arrive at a number of 72 virgins? I mean, obviously that's a barter. Somebody said 100, somebody else said 50, somebody else said 72.
Yeah,
Agreed.
Yeah, no kidding, of course. And it's historically, it's a historical precedent that these individuals within the Arabic or Islamic communities were all merchants. That's why in the Middle East, it was in the middle. It was between Europe and the East Indies. East Indies having all the spices and all the natural resources that was incapable of growing in Europe and in the Middle East, and whether it was ships, whether it was traveling by land, whatever route was taken to get from Europe to the East Indies, they had to go through the Middle East, and that's why it's in the middle. They were the middlemen, and they were more than willing to, barter the living bejesus out of you. And hey, I'm not against bartering either. I think they need to embrace that idealism of being business folks. And if they are Islam, if they are Muslim, embrace Muslimism. I don't really care. I just don't think that we should be entertaining the fanaticism that it's inducing. And unfortunately, we're getting to a point now where you have a lot of would be otherwise regular Arabic or Islamic individuals actually entertaining the idea of terrorism because of its, influence on not only America and the Western world, but its influence within the Arabic community also. And I think that's a shame. And partly it's our fault also, a little bit.
You can see from history, too, the times that the Ottoman Empire and the Persian Empire were somewhat free market oriented and their people thrived economically, that helped them hold power for such a long periods of time. But it also turned places like Istanbul into like lavish places to live for a long time. And when you don't have massive poverty and you don't live in third world conditions, it's a lot harder to convince people to blow themselves up as well, But another anecdote was you were talking about Lawrence of Arabia, and I thought that was funny because most Americans probably never even heard of Lawrence of Arabia. I know in school they really didn't teach us a whole lot about that. Mostly what I remember is a picture of an actor on a screen wearing a whole lot of makeup in a silent film, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's like Lawrence of Arabia nowadays is the guy Larry behind the counter at Arabica Coffee, you know what I mean? He's Lawrence of Arabica, and that's about as far as people go with that now. And then on a serious note, you were talking about institutions, you were talking about the UN, and you were saying that we can't rely on that, we have to rely on individualism. And then you started talking about pacifism and supposed pacifism, anyway, of the left. And I think it's funny you brought that up because the left always relies on institutionalization to do anything, whether it's government or NGO, non-government organization or anything. They always need some kind of institution to rally around, and then that, of course, is the main mistake because the institution grows corrupt as it gets too large and too distant from the people that started it. And
history has always told that same story. Go ahead.
And pacifism, I think, is so funny because in this country, or most countries really, the left does this. They say they're pacifists, but then, like you said, they send out groups to interfere in warfare one way or the other. In the guise of aid, they're basically causing more problems for the people trying to win the war than they are for, I'm not going to say the Red Cross has always been a negative thing or anything, but again, it gets too large, it gets too, independent of what its original mission was, and here it is, and when you talk about these pacifists, well, it's not very pacifist to be interfering, and people like me that are kind of on the anti-war right kind of look at them and say, there you go, you have to be a statist about everything. You have to institutionalize everything. I like what you were saying about Iran. If you support those people over there, as Americans, we should be free to send our dollars wherever we want, and if we want to help those people out so that they can, rise up and take and turn that country into a liberal democracy, then that's good. You know what I mean? We should be able to do that.
Absolutely. And what's really unfortunate is that you've got a bunch of war hawks out here, especially folks that are profiting from the military-industrial complex that actually want to induce war, just like they induced war during the Iraq debacle and the Iraq situation. Even though I wasn't completely against the Iraq situation, but I thought it was going to be completely different than what it panned out to be. It ended up being a complete sideshow, a complete economic and tragic disaster. And I think that what individuals need to realize is that Iraq should not be a cut-and-run operation. We need to hold Barack Obama and the Congress responsible for obtaining the $1 trillion we've spent liberating those folks, because they have a surplus. They're just like China at this point. They're building up their international reserve based upon all the oil they're pumping out of their lands that we liberated for them. They're selling it on the world market for $80 a barrel plus, and they've got close to $1 trillion surplus. Why aren't they paying us back?
You seriously want to know why? I think I know why. Because in a court of a legal court of law, when you're talking international law in war, we could, if we would have found weapons of mass destruction, if we could have proven beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law, in an international court, that they in fact induced the invasion, they would have to pay us reparations. That would be part of it. But because that we never found anything, it screwed the case all up. So now we can't remember, because that was what they said when we went in. Well, the oil will pay for it. Yeah, it sure would have, no problem. Many times over. But the problem is that we can't take it unless we have legal right to it. Otherwise, we're the ones that are breaking it.
Well, we technically did have legal right to it because look, just because we didn't find.
I agree.
We didn't find weapons of mass destruction because he got rid of them. And the reason I say that is because it's the United Nations had reports in the early 90s and the mid-90s that this idiot had barrels of ricin, barrels of anthrax, just sitting around, for a rainy day of some sort.
I mean, I'm not...
But on top of that, I mean, his other ruckus of invading countries whenever he deems fit, and
right.
There was just a lot of things that Saddam Hussein was doing that was completely ridiculous, and he put his people at risk. Now, unfortunately, I know that the leftist will say that, well, we've killed a lot more Iraqis than we've saved, and it was safer with Saddam. Yeah, you know what? It was safer with Saddam, but you know what? Industrialization and modernization, it takes some tough tumbles. I'm not trying to discredit life in any regard, But you take a look at how long it took Europe and it took America to industrialize, modernize, and technologicize, if that's even a freaking word. It took us about 400 years. Now, what we're doing as America and Europe, while we're investing in other communities in the international community, we are facilitating industrial growth at a very, very fast rate, so to speak. And we're seeing these tragedies, and we're seeing a lot of the pitfalls and the downfalls and the discrepancies and the contradictions come by faster than you would the traditional or the first method of industrialization, which is the European model or the American model.
Sure.
And that's why I think that inevitably there is a lot of death and destruction in Iraq. But I think that the end goal, the end cause, unfortunately, I don't know what the situation is going to be, so I'm not going to make any promises any longer. Ever since we cut it and running, or ever since we've cut and run. But if we were to sit there and make sure that there was a stable Iraq and that these individuals could use that surplus to build their own infrastructure and to create industrial growth, because they do have a pretty intellectual base out there. I mean, Saddam Hussein did educate a certain portion of the populace. He does have a decent realm of intelligentsia out there. The problem is we haven't been able to maintain social order so that we can build infrastructure and have Iraq as prosperous of a nation as Saudi Arabia, even though Saudi Arabia's people may be a little oppressed. But I've taken a visit to Saudi Arabia, and it's rather one of the most industrious nations in a desert I've ever seen.
I think we disagree on some things, but I think we can agree in so far as if we would have went into Iraq originally with enough troops and would have actually went to win, because we seem to play political footballs with the number of troops we're going to put in there, and I think Bush underplanned that invasion, because it just seemed like the surge and all that. I mean, just send them in hardcore the first time. You know what I mean? Get it over with and let the war be. I mean, we're capable of ending wars in 3 days. You know what I mean? It's happened before. You know what I mean? And
we did wrong, Tony, and I hope that Bush finally admits it, because I don't know if it was his fault. Remember, he wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but at the same time, I wouldn't say he was the worst president of all time as they claim he was. I mean, if you take a look at our present situation, the last situation we were in didn't look that bad. But I think where he went wrong was invading Iraq and just destructing the entire infrastructure, letting the infrastructure go to crap. I mean, letting all the vanguards and all the military just go run amok and just go start their own things.
Right.
I think that we basically stopped the society and destroyed it and tried to rebuild it from scratch. We should have went in and kept the infrastructures and kept the urban industrialization necessary to sustain everyone sustenance-wise, while at the same time providing security for the nation so that we could facilitate industrial growth within Iraq. I think that, remember, when you have natural resources like oil, it's not going to take very long to industrialize.
Right.
But the problem is you need order. You need social order here, and unfortunately, we never got it, and now we're leaving before we even implement it. And at the same time, we've just dedicated a lot of blood and treasure into this country, and it seems to me like we're just going to let that go by the wayside and just continue on down the road spending away. I don't know.
But I'll tell you what, if we don't have any claim to the oil in Iraq, we definitely should have claim to the only resource that Afghanistan seems to have, which are the opium fields. I think I brought that up with you before, and we were talking about that. We pay Turkey to grow it. I know that might have its own consequences as well for that country, because we're supplementing them so they can grow the opium for our pharmaceutical companies. But regardless, we should be laying claim for reparations there, because there's no doubt that invasion was justified. I mean, we can't find much of anybody that's going to deny that we should have invaded Afghanistan to go after Osama bin Laden.
Well, I don't think we should have invaded Afghanistan at all. I think we should have done black operations. We have the capabilities and the resources to do so. We should have made Osama bin Laden so comfortable with, and he was at one point until, they started taking down the drones and started realizing that they were under surveillance under those drone systems. Then he went into the damn mountains. But I think we should have assassinated him, and we should have just taken out the whole apparatus of Al Qaeda. Then, if the Taliban wanted to come by and start its mess, we could have bombed the bejesus out of them like we did during the initial campaign of the Afghan theater of combat. But unfortunately, these theaters, the generals and the individuals who implemented these wars, hopefully they go down in military history as the worst, because they screwed up. They screwed up. They should have black operated the whole idea of taking out bin Laden and the Al Qaeda network. I still think we should have went into Iraq, because during the times when we were trying to be diplomatic with Iraq about our seriousness against their weapons of mass destruction and their other activities, Saddam Hussein was thumbing his nose at us, putting out nationally televised Iraqi-based propaganda, saying that every Iraqi should fight to the death and screw America. And I mean, he was just so tempting that he inevitably asked for it, in my opinion. But I think that we should have conducted this a little bit more responsibly when it comes to the troops that we sent out into those regions, and we should have been a little bit economically responsible when it comes to administering these particular wars.
I'll amend what I said. I guess I didn't by invasion. I should have said a different word, or perhaps said invasion or some kind of infiltration, because I'm not against treating it as a CIA operation, some type of police action, so to speak, because it is more or less a law enforcement problem. The only thing I think about the invasion is I'm not sure whether we had to invade or not, but we definitely had the right to bomb the hell out of the Taliban government, because they were aiding and abetting, and take them out of power. Whether we were going to leave them out of power permanently or not, that's another issue. But we definitely had the right to take their current leadership out and either, completely say, what we're, I guess, kind of going with now is that, we might want to keep the Taliban out of power, or we could have just, do the other way, which it might end up that way anyway, which is they come back.
Are you kidding me? Obama, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we announced on the show that he's already making a distinction between Al-Qaeda and Taliban. And yet the Taliban keeps pop-shotting our boys out there in Afghanistan, and yet he had the audacity to come out and make this speech about how there's a distinct difference between the two. That really, that little diplomatic attempt at trying to, throw an olive branch in the Taliban's little yard, it didn't work. They broke it on their knee, and they decided to hit up with even more offensives after that. Though you're trying to destabilize Pakistan, while at the same time trying to nullify the fortification of certain provinces within Afghanistan by bombing the hell out of them. They bombed the hell out of Kabul, making the United States and the United Nations look like jackasses.
Yep, and what's funny? Pakistan really created a monster, because their ISI, which we fund their country with whatever aid we give them, billions of dollars a year, and then they give it to the ISI, which is their intelligence service. They created the Pakistani force, the Taliban, and then they, through a generation or so, recruited native Afghans into the Taliban as if it were just a party, as opposed to a foreign paramilitary group. And now it's so out of control. The whole purpose of it was to destabilize the border with Afghanistan. And all it's done now is not only destabilize that border, but destabilize their own country. Now they've got this monster they can't control running loose. They can't stop the ISI from funding it, because the military, the ISI, and the actual head of the government, what's her name, Benazir Bhutto's husband, they're all separate entities. It's not like here where we have, checks and balances and stuff. Over there, they're on a very teetering edge of the military taking over again, as it was with the last guy that was in.
Certainly, we've discussed that many times on this program, specifically on Pakistan, that at any point this country could fall. It's so destabilized out there. You've got, just as you just said, that the military has contemplated, or it's been rumored that they've been thinking about facilitating coups. You've got other, political factions that are trying to encourage the destabilization of the country for their own political endeavors. And then, of course, you've got the Taliban trying to destabilize the whole country and trying to intimidate the country into obliging their particular wishes as law based upon, their guerrilla warfare terror tactics.
Yep, that's absolutely right. Well, I'll let you get on with your show, man. I won't take up any more of your time. And thanks for taking my call. And I thought that was funny, that especially about what you said about the Middle East and how they started off kind of free market merchants. It kind of got me laughing because that's true. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think that they've always been theocracies.
Yeah, exactly, and they haven't. It's just a new phenomenon induced by the Treaty of Versailles.
All right, man. Have a good show.
All right, man. You have a good one, Tony.
Later.
Well, that was some pretty good commentary, folks. Of course, if you want to chime in about anything, I strongly advise you to give me a call here, 646-652-4869. And what's good about old Tony calling up, because he's a frequent caller, is that it seems like he has a decent head on his shoulders. He knows what he's talking about. And he tries to keep himself well informed of not only current events, but the historical precedents that base the substance of that current event. And this is what America needs to be doing more of, folks. All right? I hate to keep emphasizing this. I hate to keep going over and over and over and over and over this crap. But this was a country made by the people and for the people. But once again, the people have fallen asleep at the wheel. And this is the consequence you get. You get a liberal regime trying to take a capitalist free market society, a great country like America, and turn it into some socialist, quasi-communist peasant ground. I mean, this is why I say all the time that the American public sucks. Because to me, in my personal opinion, the American public are a bunch of gluttonous, ungrateful pricks. I mean, don't you understand that 150 years ago, you would have had to hunt for your own damn food? I mean, you would have had to make your own furniture, you idiots. You would have to sew your own clothes. I mean, don't you understand that, you ass clowns? I mean, we're just so ungrateful, and then, the liberals and the feminists, they just exploit all these supposed groups in this country.
Oh, look, it's the single mother with 5, 10 kids, and, look at her, she needs help. Let's give her $10,000 a month. Oh, look, it's the drug addict. Look at him, he's on drugs. Let's give him some clean needles, and let's try to hook him up in a plush, nice little 12-step program, and let's pussy pamper his ass to try to get him off this little drug that nobody put a gun to his head to put in his arm. Oh, look, let's go build a soup kitchen for the poor in America, huh? Oh, yeah, let's go over here and let's go pass out bowls of soup for the poor in America.
The poor in America, folks? I mean, I hate to keep going over this again, but once again, won't you go take a look at any impoverished part of America, any supposed impoverished part in America, and just drive through. Just drive through. Make sure to lock your damn doors, but just drive through, and I want you to observe all the fat, jelly-ass, cellulite dripping off the ear, bloated bastards that are waddling their fat jelly asses up and down the streets in these supposed impoverished areas. And I ask you this. Do poor people get fat? Huh? Do poor people get fat? Absolutely not. Sick and tired of hearing about the goddamn poor in America. Sick and tired of it. I'm tired of it already. Talking about the poor in America, and they're walking around with iPhones. They're walking around with Dolce & Gabbana glasses. They're walking around with Coach purses, their hair done, their nails did, and all this other crap. And you want me to give my taxpaying dollars to these useless pieces of lazy, gluttonous, materialistic peasants? Absolutely not. You piece of... You piece of crap! I'm a conservative, damn it! I'm a true conservative, and I refuse. I just wish you people would understand how serious I am when I say this. I'm as serious as a goddamn heart attack. I refuse to send my goddamn taxpayer to... I
single whore mothers in America. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Are you sick of it, huh? Are you sick of these single dish rag whore mothers who are shitting out 8 kids from 8 different fathers, getting $8,500 a month in federal government subsidies, while at the same time playing the child support lottery system? It makes me sick! Is this what America's turned out to be? The land of the peasants? You people are turning yourself into peasants, for heaven's sake! I'm like, don't you understand it? I better calm down, folks. You people are turning into peasants. And you don't seem to care. You don't seem to notice, you don't seem to care. I'm sorry, folks. Let me calm down here. And you know, I know my heart's beating fast. I know I'm sweating up a storm. It's cold out here, and I'm sweating. And I know that I'm on the bridge of possibly having a damn coronary. But you know what, folks? I don't care. I don't care. I hope that some of you people that are out there listening in, hopefully you're getting a grasp of some of the commentary that I'm conveying on this broadcast, and hopefully it is penetrating your psyche and sparking some synapses in your brain so you can go out and finally go against this liberal long-hair crap, this feminist bull-dyke garbage. It has ruined America, folks. All right, let's get serious. It has ruined this country, this whole leftist ideology. We need to stop embracing it. Do you understand? We need to stop embracing all this nonsense. We need to get back to America again. America, remember that? Remember when everyone in the world looked at America as the bastion of success, the bastion of capitalism? Remember that? Now we're the bastards of capitalism. We're the bastards because now we have single-parent families as the majority of the day. We have single-parent families as a majority of the day because we have an entitlement system that it encourages women to turn baby-making into big business, huh? Oh, yeah. And for you folks that don't know about the programs that are out here for these dirty, disgusting, despicable floozies that are hopping around from penis to penis to penis and shitting out children like they're going out of style, I strongly advise you to go back to the archive at blogtalkradio.com/ghost, and I strongly advise you to listen to number 117, episode number 117, to hear all the damn programs that the poor in America and dish-rag whore single mothers who are out here trivializing life. You know, these octomom slut bags. You know, these dirty dish-rag slapnut whores that are out here making a mockery out of human life. Because that's exactly what they're doing. They're trivializing human life. But that's what the liberal objective is, folks. Don't you understand that? That's the objective. It was in the books by the liberal agitation and the liberals who have hijacked every bureaucratic system of government. Every one of them. I mean, we can go over this time and time again. Let's talk about the education system. The education system has been hijacked. It's been taken over for the past 30 years by these long-haired liberal hippies and these bull-dyke, muff-diving feminists. All right? Oh, yeah. Instead of actually educating your children, they took out the idea. They took out the whole concept of critical thinking, and instead they started implementing the absolute pussification. The absolute pussification of America via this political correctness nonsense. Oh, yeah. Oh, look, you got to be politically correct. Political correctness is being used as a tool by the liberals
to subjugate the entire country into obeying their ridiculous ideology. And I refuse. Refuse to sit here and abide by political correctness or to abide by the liberal ideology. I refuse to do it. I refuse to do it. So that's why I conduct these broadcasts. Are you? What about you? Are you going to be a serf to this disgusting, tree-hugging, liberal, long-hair, Bull Dyke, Gloria Steinem worshiping, butt plug up the ass looking, fruity ass little ideology? Are you? I bet you are. I bet you are, huh? You piece of crap. Anyway, folks, we got a little bit about 15 minutes left of the program. I wanted to talk about this new Associated Press story that just came out of the hot wire here. And they're talking about cash for clunkers. Remember that, folks? And if you happen to be an avid listener of the show, you remember when they were implementing the cash for clunkers, and then they implemented cash for crap. They implemented all these dumbass programs, and yours truly was on here trying to get the people to understand that this is not anything that is American, nor is it productive. All right? Nor is it productive. Now, let me explain to you, for all you morons that weren't able to participate in the cash for crap or cash for clunker program, if you happen to have grandma's old Cadillac sitting on some cement and, you throw some cheap tires on it and are able to roll it into a damn dealership, earlier this year, you could actually trade that piece of crap clunker for a supposed more energy-efficient vehicle, and they were going to give you a $4,500 rebate on that vehicle. They were going to give you a $4,500 rebate if you took in grandma's old piece of crap Nova in to be traded for a supposed energy-efficient vehicle. Well, folks, guess what? Guess what happened, all right? The most common deals under the $3 billion cash for clunker, cash for crap program, all right? All right? The most common deals was the replacement of an old Ford truck or a Chevy truck for new Ford and Chevy pickup trucks, which only got very marginal gas mileage or better gas mileage. Wasn't this an endeavor supposedly to induce a better, cleaner environment by, wasn't this cash for clunkers crap supposed to, induce people to buying lower emitting gas guzzling pieces of crap out there on the road? Yeah, no, the most deals under the cash for clunkers crap was trading in their old Ford and Chevys in for new Ford and Chevy pickup trucks. Isn't that great, folks? Huh? That is a liberal idea. All right? A liberal idea to sit here and think that you were going to go out and, initiate, some sort of stimulation in the private sector, particularly of which in the car industry, and you were going to somehow implement some sort of energy-efficient car buying practice by the morons that you give these dumbass little rebates to. It didn't work, did it? Huh? It didn't work. So, you know what, folks? I can't believe, first of all, that we had a Cash for Clunkers program, and let alone after the Cash for Clunkers program was gone, we had a Cash for Crap program. So if you have a piece of crap, like refrigerator, if you had a piece of crap appliance, you could just lug it into a dealer somewhere and get cash for it. So once again, folks, I hate to keep reiterating this. I hate to keep refocusing on this, but we, right now, in modern-day America, you can no longer call it the United States of America. All right? You can call it Junkyard America, folks. That's right. Call it Junkyard America. Come on down, bring your junk. Cash for crap. Cash for clunkers. Come on down. Cash for crap, baby. Welcome to the new Junkyard America. Welcome to the new Junkyard America, folks. Yee-haw! All right. Shut it off. I mean, welcome to the new Junkyard America, folks, where we're exchanging our cash for crap, cash for clunkers. I mean, it's a disgrace. This is not America. This is not America. I don't know what the hell this is. I mean, can somebody explain it to me? Excuse me. I'd like for somebody to give me a call and explain to me what in the blue hell we're living in right now. 646-652-4869. Not only are we living in Junkyard America, we're living in entitlement America also, huh? Yeah, that's right. Everybody and their brother has their hands out for another entitlement. They're out there on their knees like a bunch of disgusting, soulless, cash whore peasants that are on their knees to their landlord, Big Brother government, saying, "Oh, please, can I have another stimulus package check, please? Oh, God. Can I have a housing voucher program? Can I have a free cell phone? Can I have free broadband access? Huh? Oh, my God." I mean, what's going to be next, huh? I mean, we're already bailing out Wall Street and all the bankers, all right? We bailed them out with all our tax dollars, and the liberals are going to use that as an opportunity. They're going to utilize the supposed greed in Wall Street, which was nothing more than allowing Wall Street to raid our tax system, and then they're highlighting the fact that Wall Street is paying themselves big bonuses, billions of dollars in bonuses, and the liberals are going to use that as an opportunity to put caps on how much the average American can make in their lifetime, putting caps on how much money an American can make in 1 year. It's a disgrace. And meanwhile, everybody's going to be there. Everybody's going to be there with their hands out. They're going to be there with their number, because, when you're in a handout socialistic communist system, you got to be in a bread line. You got to take a number, all right? We got to take a number out here, so when they call your number, when they say, "Hey, loser, come on down and come and collect your entitlement." Oh, yeah, we got housing voucher programs. We got all kinds of goodies for you, so just come on down. Yeah, just shut that crap off. Just shut it off. Come on down for your voucher, huh? Come on down for your goddamn entitlement, huh? This is the new America. All right, this is the new quasi-Karl Marx worshiping quasi-communist socialist America. Come on down and get your damn entitlement. Unreal. And people have no shame in America either. They have no goddamn shame. They're out here with their hands out. They have no shame. They have no damn shame about it. And what do you do? I mean, as a rational human being, as somebody that's not living in the same ignorant world as everyone out here walking the streets of America, what are you supposed to do? I mean, it's hard, I mean, it really is. I mean, I tell everybody every day, it's hard to wake up every morning. It's hard to wake up every morning. I mean, every time I wake up, I know that I have to go outside my house and I got to see these despicable, disgusting, ungrateful, gluttonous assholes that are walking America today, that are out here, they're so ungrateful, they're pissed off, they're unhappy about their lives that they chose, all right? They're unhappy with the kids that they produced. They're unhappy with all this crap. And I'm supposed to sit here and what? I'm supposed to move out of the way for these idiots, huh? I'm supposed to feel sorry for people because they made bad decisions in life? I mean, this is a free will society out here. This is an individual society. If you make an individual decision that screws up your life, you got to nut up and take it, you milky liquor. You got to nut up and take it. So don't sit here and try to blame everybody. Oh, it's society's fault. It's my mama's fault. It's my daddy's fault. It's your fault, you stupid dumbass.
your fault, you jerk nut! Put that through your thick skull, and maybe, just maybe, you'll understand the kind of pain that I'm going through every time I walk outside my door. You understand that? I'm sick and tired of seeing these dumb, ungrateful idiots out here in America. I'm sick and tired of them. I mean, and it's growing more and more, you know? These people screwed up their own lives. And you know what's funny about it? You know what's funny is that the individuals that are losing their homes, the individuals that are losing their cars, they have the audacity, they have the balls to sit here and blame those that lent them the money. They're blaming those that lent them the money, for heaven's sake. That's like you asking your ma for about $500 so that you can pay your rent this month. And then next month when ma asks, hey, where's my $500, you telling ma this, hey, you know I couldn't pay it back. Come on, Ma. You're the one. I mean, you know I didn't have the money to pay you back. Why'd you lend it to me? It's your fault, Ma. I don't owe you nothing, Ma, because it's your fault for lending it to me. I mean, doesn't that sound ridiculous? Doesn't that sound stupid? But that's America that we're living in, folks. They talk about predatory lending, huh?
Oh, it's predatory lending, yeah. Oh, the lenders shouldn't have lent the losers the money. No, that's bad.
What about predatory borrowing? What about that? What about predatory borrowing, for heaven's sake? Knowing for a fact that you couldn't pay the bills that you were attaining for yourself. What about predatory borrowing? But no, the liberals somehow had Americans, because they were so ridiculously dumbfounded by materialism and consumption, they had them bamboozled into believing that, oh, it was the guys that lent us the money's fault. You shouldn't have lent us money. It's your fault. The stupid, lazy American. Are you proud of yourself? I mean, I'm sitting here breaking crap all over my damn crap all over the place. But I mean, are you proud of yourself with this crap? I mean, are you proud to be an American? I mean, before I get off this air, once again, I want you to get your fat cottage cheese ass up off of your damn chair right now. Get up! Get the hell up! And I want you to go to your nearest mirror right now. I want you to go to your nearest damn mirror. Go up there and go to your nearest mirror, you piece of... Go to your nearest mirror. And I want you to look right between your damn beady eyes. I want you to look at yourself in the mirror. And I want you to look in your eyes and ask yourself, why did I participate in the political process? Why did I allow these power-hungry autocrats to sell out my children's future? Why did I allow my country to be flushed down the proverbial toilet? And I want you to look at yourself in that mirror, right? And I want you to take a good look at that disgusting scowl of yours, and I want you to spit in your face! I want you to spit in your damn face! Spit in your face! And that's from me to you because you deserve it! All of it! Spit in your damn face! Anyway, folks, I better calm down. Anyway, folks, we got 2 minutes left in the program. Once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in with me here on this live broadcast of the True Conservative Radio program. And for those of you listening in the archive, I appreciate your patronage. Please bookmark the blog or add the blog to your favorites, folks. And please comment. All right? Please comment, folks. ghostpolitics.blogspot.com. All right? ghostpolitics.blogspot.com, folks. Make sure to bookmark it, and I want to hear some comments from you. And on the same time, folks, I'd like for everybody to scroll down. If you go to the blog at ghostpolitics.blogspot.com, go all the way down to the damn page and leave me a voicemail so we can air those sons of bitches right here on the True Conservative Radio program. All right, leave me a voice message. It's the easiest opportunity to leave me an anonymous voice message, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. I really don't give a crap.
So please, ghostpolitics.blogspot.com. Go all the way to the bottom and leave me a voice message. Anyway, folks, I want to thank everybody for tuning in with me. I do not know when I'm going to conduct another broadcast, so if you want to be the first to know when I'm going to conduct a live broadcast, follow me on Twitter. That's right, folks. Ghost Politics is the Twitter name. That's all one word, no underscores. Ghost Politics. And spread the word about the True Conservative Radio program, because this is a true word-of-mouth grassroots campaign out here. So I need your help to go out there and spread the word and let everybody know that true conservatism is really alive. And before we go, folks, please patronize the sponsors. All right, if you support the show and you want to help out the True Conservative Radio program, please click on the sponsors. It's a freaking click, you cheap bastards. Anyway, I'm out of here. Long live the conservative movement and death to feminism.
Boar's Head is bringing a slice of Japan to the deli. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Tender, slow-roasted chicken breast, coated in our signature teriyaki glaze, where ginger, garlic, and a hint of brown sugar meet for a flavor that's both sweet and savory. New Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. The bold flavor of Japan. Now at the deli. Only from Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.